According to the InterNACHI Home Inspection Standards of Practice, the home inspector shall inspect a representative number of doors and windows by opening and closing them, the floors, walls, and ceilings, stairs, steps, landings, stairways, and ramps, railings, guards, and handrails, garage vehicle doors, and the operation of garage vehicle door openers using the normal operating controls. The inspector shall describe a garage vehicle door as manually operated or installed with a garage door opener. The inspector shall report as in need of correction, and proper spacing between intermediate balusters, spindles, and rails for steps, stairways, guards, and railings, photoelectric safety sensors that didn't operate properly, and any window that was obviously fogged or displayed with other evidence of broken seals.
Okay, we're just coming from the attic. So 310 is the interior of the house. The garage is part of that, basically because it starts right here. We want to see a self-closing fire-rated door. Now this is a steel door, so because this is a ranch, that would be considered a 20-minute fire rating, but there is no self-closing hinges, no self-closer. In 71, it wasn't required, but this is not a 1971 door, so I would write that down as a defect. As we're coming in here, now we're going to be looking at the visible wall. This is our firewall, so we don't want to see any holes like this. You know, a lot of times with occupants' belongings, we can't see a lot. I'm not going to open all these and check them. I mean, we can't see anything anyway. But so we're not taped, so they didn't tape the drywall. Here we have some holes, so I'm going to put holes were visible in the garage firewall. You know, the drywall seams were not taped, things like that. You can see we've had some settlement at the garage floor. We have older wood doors. They have added safety wires in them though, so that's good. That one doesn't have an opener. This one does. Our optic eyes, we really like to see these at 8 inches, so my report's going to state that they're a little bit low. Why don't we close the door and let's check the reverse stops. So, I don't like to put a board in there, but we're going to try to stop the door. I can't stop it. So, the reverse stop adjustment on this garage door is too tight. So we write that up as safety. So that's just so it doesn't crush kids, pets, things like that. You know, as we're going through the garage, I'm not going to be able to get at a lot of this. I might be able to open this door. It looks like I'll be able to. I'd know it, so we have cracks in the control joints. Like I say, I think this side's about what it used to be, and I think this side is settled a couple inches, what it looks like to me. A lot of stuff in the way. Up here, very typical for a garage. It looks like probably had some homeowners electrical. They haven't done the J-box covers. If we can get at the outlets, we want to check for GFCI protection. I'm not sure how many outlets there are here, but there's a good chance we're going to miss some, so my report's going to say a few outlets were not accessible to the occupant's belongings. Back here, there's a compressor. We have some exposed wiring, so I'm going to note the exposed wiring along with it. And then most trusses are not designed for storage. So I'm going to note occupant's belongings, or the occupant was storing belongings in the attic, because this is really hard on these older trusses. So these gussets can loosen up. They're not designed to take much of a load. You know, if it's light stuff, great, but when people start putting doors and everything up there, it can be way too much weight. Our exterior service door, we want to make sure it closes, locks, all that kind of stuff. For security, just do a general overall impression. You know, I don't see any boring of the trusses, anything like that. So we'd close the garage door so people can't look in. Now you notice when we were looking at the garage, we checked the closed force adjustment. We are not required to do that by SOPs. So just to understand, you are going beyond. But again, we're looking at child safety. You know, as easy as it is to check that reverse, it's a good idea to do it, because if your client has kids and it comes down and crushes them, you're going to hear about it. So I just think it's not a bad idea to do, but we are not required to by SOP. Let's move on to the house. And again, Due to the age of this door, this should be a self-closing door. Age of the house, it would not be. So as we come in, the general interior inspection, doors, windows, wall condition, things like that. So again, accessible windows. If we can get at it easily, we'll check it. We're not gonna move occupants' belongings. I'm not gonna climb over the couch. I'm not gonna, break a blind trying to check a window. We're gonna put a note in there, a few windows were not accessible due to the occupants' belongings. Now, at the same time, we're gonna check our cabinet doors, things like this. And we are just required to do a representative number, but it's so quick to do, it doesn't make sense not to do them all. Now, this window here, because it's a slider, I can easily do it. Now, if it was a double hung from over here, wouldn't be so easy. Now, we always lock every window we check, whether they had them unlocked or not. We write it up as safety if they do not lock. But that way nobody can say we left the house unsecured. On your front door, you want to check condition of weather strip. We have a portion missing here. Exterior lighting is not part of a standards of practice, but we always check the exterior that's attached to the house. If there's a lamp out there in the yard, that's not part of your standard. But anything that lights your entryway, we want to make sure that works. You can see where we're missing that, we have a little bit of an air gap right there, so I'd note pour seal. And as we go through, I'm going to check my doors. Now, when we do our cursory first walkthrough, we typically check the doors, that kind of stuff at that point. Now, again, this door was locked. This one here, though, I can get at this window. So we're going to check this window. Again, I'm going to lock it. Even though it wasn't locked, I'm going to lock it. And I typically put the blind back to where it was. Closets, we're going to check the door operation. But again, usually they're so full of stuff, I don't want to break his fishing pole, things like that. So I'm not going to move anything. We have on this house an attic fan. So you can check this with interior, you can check it now with electric earlier. But we turn it on, make sure it runs. Now remember, if you have a fireplace that's wood burning, that does have enough suction to pull the soot out of your chimney. So make sure you have doors or windows open when you run that. We would do the same thing in the basement as we're doing our walk around. As we're going through the house, of course, we're going to be looking for cracks, things like that, patch damaged drywall. When we see acoustic, depending on the age of the house, you might want to make a note that it could contain asbestos. We are not asbestos inspectors, so we don't need to test for it, but it's not a bad idea to tell somebody, hey, I would get that tested before I scrape it. In the kitchens and bathrooms, we were supposed to have smooth finish on the ceilings so that it's a washable, cleanable surface. So I would write this up as a defect if it had acoustic ceiling like that does out there. Coming back through, we'd head downstairs and we just continue the inspection. Okay, now we're coming down to the basement. Basically doing the same thing. We're opening our doors, closing our doors, make sure that they don't stick. Now, in Colorado on our front range, we float our walls and doors, so that's a little bit different. Most places don't, but we actually take our door jambs a little bit off the floor so that we have some give area in case this floor should move. Now, these windows are older, non-egress windows, but we still open and close them. I would typically talk to my clients and say, hey, for energy efficiency, they make it a new slip-in window. It's pretty easy to install. Coming through, again, our floor feels pretty flat. We check these with the electric, but we want to make sure that we have a CO detector within 15 foot of each bedroom. Coming over here, our egress. Say we would measure that, and it's just under what we need for a ladder, so we don't need a ladder in that egress window well. Over here, same things, we're going to check our doors. In the basement, we typically don't have a lot of windows, But, you know, make sure our doors close nice and evenly. Make sure our closet doors open and close, all that kind of stuff. And again, looking for cracking. You know, do I see bad patch jobs? Do I see cracks in the drywall? You know, this house is pretty stable. I haven't seen a single crack in the ceilings, single crack in the drywall. Now, of course, a lot of it looks like it's been redone in the last couple of years. But, you know, if we had movement going on, typically we'd see it. Some kind of cracking around the doors. We'd stick a door, have a window that didn't open correctly, something like that. Okay, in the laundry, you know, we're a visible inspection. We're not required to run the washing machine. You know, if we look in and see there's nothing there, a lot of times we will just to check this plumbing as part of the plumbing, but that's not part of our SOP. We do want to look and see, do we have a dryer vent? Is it a proper dryer vent? Does it go outside? When we're outside, we want to make sure that we have a hood, things like that on there. If it disappears at all, this dryer vent's improper. So we would rather see a flex like this. We have our 240 hookup. That's quite a long run. I'd be a little concerned about damage, but your 240 plug, we want to make sure it's in good condition. It's okay if you want to test, make sure it's wired correctly like we do, but again, that's not part of an SOP, so it's not something you need to do. We want to look if we have cabinets. Did they use the proper screws? They use deck screws, so that's really not the screw we'd like to see. We'd like to see a panhead screw or a screw with a washer. But, you know, we want to make sure we have everything so we can wash our clothes, dry our clothes, and that we have safe electrical. Okay, that pretty much wraps up 310, the interior section of the report. Remember, you don't want to look at the garage firewalls, self-closing doors, things like that, and just do a general, you know, walk around, opening all your accessible windows and that. But our standards of practice say a representative number. But if it's accessible, go ahead and do it. But we're going to wrap up that section for now. Thank you. So again, I'm Jim. This is Mike. We just finished inspecting this 1971 ranch. I hope you paid attention and learned something. We hope to come back for our next videos. Thank you.